And remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, which will be led by the delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring.
Let us bow. Most holy and sovereign God, we give you honor and praise. We are grateful for the activity of our limbs, the articulation of speech, and the clarity of thought. For we come today mindful that life is more fragile than we often admit. Strength can change quickly. Presence can be missed suddenly. And none of us stands by our own power alone. So we ask you, Lord, to sustain us. Be near to those whose bodies are fighting for strength. Heal, Lord. Hold steady those whose hearts are carrying sorrow. Comfort them, Lord. Restore those whose energy has been worn thin by strain and uncertainty. Help, Lord. Steady this chamber in wisdom deeper than our own. Guard our judgment. Shape our decisions with humility and care for every life touched by our work. Keep us mindful that what rests in our hands today has been entrusted to us for the good of many. And remind us, especially now, that we do not carry this responsibility alone. So we entrust this day, this work, and one another into your care. To the one who gives life, sustains life, and is worthy of all honor and reverence, we offer this prayer. Amen.
Amen.
The members will answer the roll call by indicating their presence on the electronic voting board. Clerk will close the roll.
Mr. Speaker, a quorum is present.
Pursuant to House Rule 3, I have examined and approved the Journal of the House of Delegates for Friday, February 20th, 2026. Motions and resolutions under Rule 39 pursuant to the provisions of Rule 40 are now in order. Does the clerk have any announcements or communication?
No communication, just an announcement. This is budget week. Yesterday, the House Appropriations Committee reported out its amendments to the budget. I've sent out an email to everyone explaining how we will go and certain deadlines this week. But from the dais here, pursuant to House Rule 73, members are advised the Speaker has directed that floor amendments to House Bill 30 shall be submitted to the front desk staff here 24 hours prior to the commencement of the special and continuing order, which will take place on Thursday the 26th for our consideration of House Bill 30. That means effectively members' floor amendments to the budget are due to the front desk by noon on Wednesday. If you're going to do that, go directly to the House Appropriations Committee staff, and they will work with you to craft whatever amendments that you might be inclined, if so willing. Also, I advise the body that next, pursuant to House Joint Resolution 29, is the procedure resolution for finance and revenue bills. They all have to be finished by Tuesday. So if you have, there's a list floating around and bills that are revenue impact aren't always only in finance or appropriations, but we just need to make sure that all those bills are passed out so they're in the right posture come next Tuesday to hit that deadline. Pursuant to House Rule 40, the announcements are up on the voting board are now in order for members to make.
Delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Sebo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So today in the gallery, we are joined by members from Y Street, the Virginia Foundation for Healthy Youth's award-winning youth-led volunteer group. These hardworking young people are here today to celebrate Virginia Healthy Youth Day, a day established by a resolution of the General Assembly to promote healthy lifestyles for our young people. The Virginia Foundation for Healthy Youth empowers Virginia's youth to make healthy choices by reducing and preventing youth tobacco use, substance use, and childhood obesity. As a member of the Board of Trustees for the Virginia Foundation of Healthy Youth, I am proud to welcome these high school students who volunteer their time across Virginia working on projects to improve the health of all Virginians. Please join me in giving them a warm house welcome.
Welcome to the Capitol today. The delegate from Campbell County, Delegate Zaire.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for the purpose of a motion.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that H.R. 134 be passed by until March the 3rd.
Delegate from Campbell County, Delegate Zaire moves that House Resolution 134, found on page 19, be passed by until March the 3rd. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Motion, the H.R. 134 is passed by until March 3rd. The delegate from Henrico, Delegate McQuinn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise for an announcement.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and members of GA, the House, again, we are announcing the 18th Annual Capitol Square Classic, House versus the Senate. And, House versus the Senate, And so that is tonight, which the doors will open at 5 p.m. The tip-off is at 7 p.m. at the Siegel Center. So please join us for a friendly, family-friendly competition. But this is what I really want to say, Mr. Speaker. I really want to say that we want to beat the House at the Senate at everything. And that's including fundraising. And the only way we can do that is to give, and give. So I'm encouraging all of my colleagues to please open your pocketbooks, as they say in church, and we don't want to hear the change. We want dollars to be given toward the Massey Cancer Center as we collectively fight this big enemy called cancer. So at this time, Mr. Speaker, I would like to yield the remaining of my time to none other than Delegate Cherry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Delegate from Colonial Heights, Delegate Cherry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And in joining with my friend from Richmond City, I encourage each of you to give as much as you can. If you need a cause, we just lost one of our friends in this chamber to cancer. And so if you want to make it personal, if you want to put something in honor and memory of Barry or any of the other members in this chamber that we could go down and say that we know have fought this battle and have won it. Mr. Speaker, Delegate McQuinn this morning sent out an email that has the link, takes us straight to the page to be able to give. It even tells us how many people have given, Mr. Speaker. And I think you'd be surprised to know there's only about a third of them. If you give me a moment, I'm happy to read that list of names. Don't make me. So I encourage all of you, reach down deep, give. Come out tonight, support the people that are playing in the game. We are going to win our trophy back, bring it back to Sam's office where it has been. So with that, Mr. Speaker, thank you so much.
Some of us gave cash. The delegate from Richmond City, Delegate Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for an introduction.
Delegate has the floor.
Thank you. In the gallery today, we have representatives of the Virginia Governmental Employees Association, and I would ask them to please stand. VGEA is a voluntary, nonpartisan advocacy organization that has been representing the interest of current and retired state employees of the Commonwealth for over 65 years. Today, public servants from nearly every corner of the Commonwealth came to the Capitol to share their thoughts on how we can improve the lives of the state's 142,000 employees. In appreciation of their tireless service to the Commonwealth, Mr. Speaker, I hope that it is the pleasure of this body to extend the VGEA and its members a warm house welcome.
Welcome to the Capitol today. Delegate from Chesterfield, Delegate Doherty.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a motion.
Delegate has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I request House Joint Resolution 151 on page 17 of the calendar be moved to February 26th.
Delegate from Chesterfield moves that House Joint Resolution 151, found on page 17, go by until February 26th. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. HJR 151 goes by until February 26th. Delegate from Stafford County, Delegate Carroll.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I rise for a purpose of an introduction.
Delegate has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, some may be in the gallery, but the majority are online. I stand to introduce the illustrious women, the divas of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Wherever they might be, I ask them to stand if they are a member of DST. Mr. Speaker, these women have been driven by purpose and have an ongoing commitment to advocacy rooted in its 1913 founding, which included marching for the women's suffrage. Mr. Speaker, divas are present here in this House and the Senate, the administration, the courtroom, and our counties. Mr. Speaker, I would boldly say that every space or place here in the Commonwealth, you can find a Delta. That Delta will be working, making waves, and stirring conversation that brings impactful change for the communities they live and serve. Mr. Speaker, though they are virtual today, I rise to give notice that today is the 40th anniversary to Delta Days here in the nation, in Richmond, here in our Commonwealth capital. Mr. Speaker, for 40 years, my sorors have consistently advocated for change because when we advocate, we amplify voices. When we unite, we create change. For 40 years, we have been a sisterhood in action within these walls. Our leadership has been on display, and we have advocated with intention. Mr. Speaker, I would ask that it would be the pleasure of the House to give them a warm House welcome.
Welcome to the Capitol today or online. The delegate from James City County, Delegate Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for the purpose of a motion.
Delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to move House Resolution 146 on page 45 by for the day.
Without objection, House Resolution 146, found on page 45, is by for the day. Delegate from Alexandria, Delegate McGuire.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for the purpose of 2 introductions.
Delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This morning we are joined by 10 students from the Puller Institute, and I ask that they please rise. This student leadership program is now more than 20 years old. It was established and nurtured by former delegate Chris Amundson and former Senator Toddy Puller, who understood the importance of encouraging young Virginians to engage with their state government. The purpose of the Puller Institute is simple but important: to inspire high school students to learn about the institutions that serve them, to better understand the responsibilities of public service, and to consider how they might contribute to their communities in the future. Programs like this strengthen our Commonwealth by fostering civic curiosity and leadership amongst the next generation. I hope it is the will of the body to offer them a warm House welcome.
Welcome. Welcome to the Capitol today.
Mr. Speaker,
you have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, it is my honor and really privileged to introduce the next person, and that is former Delegate Chris Amundson, whose career is defined by a deep commitment to public education and public service. She served with distinction in the Virginia House of Delegates, representing the 44th District in Fairfax County from 2000 to 2010. And during her decade in the General Assembly, she was known as a thoughtful legislator and tireless advocate for students, teachers, and families. She also served as chair of the House Democratic Campaign Committee. Throughout her career, Chris has demonstrated that effective public service is rooted in preparation, principle, and persistence. She's been a friend and mentor to many of us in the Northern Virginia delegation. I'm extremely proud to call her a friend and a constituent, and I hope that it is the will of the body to welcome Chris back to the floor.
Welcome back to the Capitol. Pursuant to House Rule 30, the journal shall reflect that the following members are away on pressing personal business on a granted leave from today's session: Delegates Clark and McLaughlin. The clerk will announce the next order of business.
Mr. Speaker, members of the House, next order of business: announcement of member requests to move legislation from any uncontested to a regular calendar. It is not a live category, but on today's calendar, in the second Senate bill's second uncontested, page 31. Delegate Carol Foy's SB 630, and page 32, same category, Senator Heads, SB 680. Both of those are out of the uncontested block and over to the regular calendar.
Clerk will announce the next order bill.
Third portion of the morning hour, announcement of member request for legislation to go by for the day. If such, the subsequent motion by the majority leader. There were 4 on today's category, all by the patron himself. House page 17 under the category of commending resolutions. Delegate Rasool's House Joint Resolution 156, 157, 158, and 159. All of those are by for the day, and on a non-live portion of the calendar, page 45, HR 146 is by for the day, which effectively means presumably next Monday. That's all the announcements I have.
Delegate from Alexander, Delegate Herring.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the legislation as announced by the clerk go by for the day.
Delegate from Alexander, Delegate Herring moves that the legislation as announced by the clerk go by for the day. As many in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The motion is agreed to. The clerk will announce the next order of business. The delegate from Richmond City, Delegate Cousins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, as we continue to commemorate Black History Month, I am reminded of the food that has fed our souls for generations during times of celebration, mourning, or even on Sundays at Grandma's house after church. There is certainly a culinary history here in Virginia that is intrinsically tied to the Black experience and speaks down through the ages into this very moment. Excuse me. After all, it was James Hemings, an enslaved man who served as Thomas Jefferson's chef and who was trained in Paris, who introduced macaroni pie, now popularly known as macaroni and cheese, creme brulee, French fries, and more to America. Hemings cooked for Jefferson and the political and social elite, plying his trade and perfecting his art in Monticello until he gained his freedom in 1796. His legacy is important, but his story is undertold. Similar to Virginia-born chef Edna Lewis, often called the mother of soul food, who was born in 1916 in Freetown, a Black farming community in Orange County, Virginia, and who pioneered farm-to-table cooking. During the Civil Rights Movement, it was the Black-owned soul food restaurants across the South that fed the movement, where civil rights leaders and volunteers would gather to strategize and unwind. Throughout history and to this day, the Black community has grown our own food and fed our communities, most times out of necessity when others refuse to do so. My grandmother regaled us with stories about how Black communities here in Richmond would band together to feed each other during Jim Crow, sharing produce from backyard gardens and establishing Black-owned grocery stores, butcher shops, and restaurants. How families and neighborhoods with very little and under constant scrutiny for daring to build something outside of the established power structure would nevertheless come together, share resources, and keep one another fed. Black communities across the U.S. echoed in the work of the Black Panthers, who launched the Free Breakfast Program in 1969 in Oakland, California. The program, which served predominantly poor Black school children, spread across the nation, popped up in multiple cities, and shone an uncomfortable spotlight on the realities of food insecurity, poverty, and the children impacted. In the face of redlining, which resulted in the disinvestment in entire sections of the city of Richmond and other urban areas across the South, and the food insecure communities that have grown out of that discriminatory practice, our communities have nevertheless persevered, with Black farmers, both rural and urban, leading the charge, not only ensuring that people are fed, but empowering our communities to be responsible for the growing, production, and distribution of our food. Mr. Speaker, I leave you with this. From Richmond to Oakland, from France to Virginia, from the heights of elite society dining at Monticello to the impoverished, redlined Richmond neighborhoods banding together over food and fellowship, from the enslaved master chef in the 1700s to the proud farmer carrying on a family dream in 2026, the goal remains the same: to feed the hungry, to provide sustenance, not just for the body, but for the mind and the soul. And I'm proud to be a part of that legacy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and happy Black History Month.
The delegate from Roanoke, Delegate McNamara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I did want to just recognize and thank the delegate from Falls Church for sharing with me the January revenue report, and also would like to thank the administration for promptly reposting the December revenue report that had been removed. Mr. Speaker, what I wanted to do today is just spend a moment, if I could, and talk about what was on the January revenue report for us so we all have that level of knowledge. Mr. Speaker, our revenues in the first 7 months of our fiscal year that started July 1 are up almost 7%, 6.9%. That's almost 3 times the rate of inflation that was reported last week at 2.4%. You know, Mr. Speaker, it is pretty clear that our revenues are pretty strong, and they are continuing to remain strong, and we are in a very, very strong financial position. So, Mr. Speaker, if it is our goal, and I know we were going to hear it is our goal, to make life more affordable for Virginians, and recognizing the strong revenue growth that we are experiencing and likely to continue to experience, would not some tax reductions be in order? So we had the budget released yesterday, and there were no tax reductions on the budget. There were some new programs, a lot of new programs, but there wasn't any tax reductions. Now, Mr. Speaker, I know that many on the other side of the aisle might not have a lot of experience in crafting how to structure a tax cut. You know, Republicans, we do, and we've structured a number of them over the last 4 years, and oftentimes with support from the other side of the aisle. But as Republicans, we thought it'd be appropriate in the spirit of cooperation for the House Republicans to craft tax reduction bills. And so we crafted a bill to eliminate the remaining grocery tax, Mr. Speaker. We crafted a bill to eliminate, in a fiscally responsible manner, start the elimination of the dreaded and hated car tax. Now, Mr. Speaker, we know how things work. We're in the minority. And, you know, but we really thought those Republican bills would survive in some fashion, recognizing that very well they may have a patron, end up with a patron from the other side of the aisle, and recognizing Democrats would take credit for the tax cuts, and Republicans might not be invited to the bill signings. And, Mr. Speaker, House Republicans would have been okay with those results because Virginians would have more money in their pockets and faith in the political promises would be renewed. But we didn't do that. We killed every tax reduction bill, instead passed huge multi-million-dollar entitlement programs and expansion of collective bargaining rights. We're going to hear in the next few days of how our budget's crafted and to make life more affordable for Virginians. But, Mr. Speaker, I would say Virginians are smarter than that. Mr. Speaker, we are growing government faster than we are growing the economy. Mr. Speaker, that isn't an affordability agenda. That's not an affordability budget. That is a spending agenda, and that is a spending budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Finally, Mr. Speaker, finally. On Friday morning, the United States Supreme Court finally woke from its coma. I think it was a coma induced by its own version of Trump delusion syndrome or Trump devotion syndrome. Finally, Mr. Speaker, the United States Supreme Court has done the right thing, issuing a stunning rebuke to the president and to his signature economic policy, telling him in no uncertain terms that he cannot, at his whim, like a monarch or a dictator might do, he cannot impose the largest tax increase ever imposed on the American people. And that's what he tried to do, Mr. Speaker. He tried to decide on his own to impose a tax increase on Americans to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars. He has been acting illegally, unconstitutionally since the very beginning of his second term. And now we hear, Mr. Speaker, Republicans, lots of them in Congress and across the country, we hear that they're breathing a sigh of relief, praising the court's ruling as a victory for separation of powers and the rule of law, acknowledging, frankly, that they knew it was illegal all the time. But where have they been? Where has the outcry from Republicans been about this affront to our Constitution? We know where, Mr. Speaker. They've been afraid of this man who governs by threat, by extortion, and by tantrum. And what about here in Virginia? Nothing different. Not a peep from the other side about the billions of dollars in Trump's illegal tariffs that Virginians have been paying and will likely never get back. You talk about tax cuts. How about giving that money back to Virginians? Or never taking it out of their pockets in the first place? How about that? They won't even say his name on that side of the aisle, at least not here on the floor, because they know how Virginians feel about this man who would be king. But finally, Mr. Speaker, the bedrock foundations of our democratic republic have begun to reassert themselves. You know, I'd always hoped, Mr. Speaker, that the judicial branch would fight back, that it would hold the line, because the legislative branch surely showed very early that it was not up to the job. But my hopes were diminishing with every ruling out of the Supreme Court enabling the president's conduct. But maybe, just maybe, Mr. Speaker, we have turned a corner. Mr. Speaker, as we celebrate our 250th anniversary as a nation of laws, not of men, on Friday we had a big reason to celebrate. At least last Friday, Mr. Speaker, our democracy held. But something tells me there's going to be more work to do, Mr. Speaker, so let's keep fighting forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Delegate from Patrick County, Delegate Williams.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Point of personal privilege.
Delegate has the floor.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I just love what I heard. I love when that happens. I love when Democrats start defending fiscal restraint and fiscal policy, because what I heard was that Donald Trump, I said it out loud. Donald Trump. I said it again. What I heard was that Donald Trump was going to pass and raise the biggest tax increase on Americans, specifically Virginians, ever. Y'all, give me a break, dude. You guys are going to raise so many taxes, and you're sitting here lecturing us about what Donald Trump did? Come on. Come on. And like, what's hilarious is you're praising the Supreme Court of the United States right now. Give it 2 weeks. Give it 2 weeks. When the Supreme Court of Virginia says that what you guys are doing is completely unconstitutional, and you guys immediately appeal, Mr. Speed Racer heads up to D.C. to make that happen for you, A.G.J. Jones. I hope he can do his community service in Maryland somewhere, because in Virginia, you don't have to do your community service. You just do it with your own PAC. But you got an illegal constitutional amendment. You're saying that the judiciary has finally got a backbone. They did get a backbone last week. And we had a favorable ruling that said, again, what y'all are doing is outrageously, ridiculously unconstitutional and unfair. Restore fairness. Our democracy held. I have been trying to figure out who you guys think you are when it comes to saving the democracy and restoring democracy. Like, you lost the popular vote. Like, they don't believe in you with this. So stop getting up and lecturing us all the time and gaslighting us with all this hypocrisy that you stand up and spew. We're sick of it. The American people are sick of it. Get in here and decide policy and stop virtue signaling. Thank you.
The delegate from Enrico, Delegate McQuinn.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
The delegate has the floor.
Hope I can change the atmosphere a little bit, Mr. Speaker.
Good luck.
Mr. Speaker, today I just want to honor our friend and colleague, Delegate Barry Knight. I rise to reflect on a shared journey Barry Knight and I had as both of us came to this body as a member of the class of 2009. Both of us arrived through special elections, and both of us were brand new, really new. Both of us knew we were here and to learn, and together we went through conversations and the orientation that we would never forget. Our former clerk, matter of fact, Bruce L. Jamerson, gave us what I would call a serious introduction to this institution. He shared with us the many do's and don'ts, but more than that, he reminded us where we were. He constantly said, he told us that this was Mr. Jefferson's house, the house of Thomas Jefferson. He told us to respect the house, to dress to impress the house, and to honor the legacy of the house. These words stayed with us, and Barry never forgot them. And how do I know? Because over the years, Barry and I talked about that orientation many times. We would reflect on it and we would laugh about it, but more importantly, we would measure ourselves against it. And Barry lived it. He respected this institution. He respected this tradition. He respected its members on both sides of the aisle. And he carried himself in a way that honored the dignity of this house every single day. Barry believed in relationships over rhetoric, solutions over division, and service over self. He brought a quiet strength to the Virginia House of Delegates, listening carefully, speaking thoughtfully, and working diligently for the people he served in Virginia Beach and across the Commonwealth. He understood that public service is not about attention, it is about responsibility. And in our conversation, I came to understand something else about Barry. He once shared with me the story of him growing up without much, growing up poor. And that experience shaped his perspective. It grounded him, and it gave him a deep understanding of everyday Virginians and the importance of opportunity, stability, and good government. I remember going to Barry telling him that we needed to close the 29-mile gap on East I-64 along the New Kent County stretch. We were trying to get the money through the CBTA and other sources, and then I said to him, finally, the government, we should be able to close this gap. I shared that with him, and if anything catastrophic happened, East 64, it would be a major problem with people trying to come from that end of town into going north or going west. We talked several times about it, and Barry came to me one day and said, I found the funds for I-64. And that perspective showed up in his work, including the efforts to help identify and support those funds, the improvement along I-64. But this is what really impressed me about Barry. The day of the celebration, and I was not there, but I got a telephone call when someone said, Barry credited you for getting that $2.6 million to close that 29-mile gap on I-64. He didn't have to do that, but it spoke volumes to me in terms of who he was. Barry's legacy is not only in the legislation he helped move forward, his legacy lives in the way he served and the respect he showed this institution, in the relationships he built, and an example he set for all of us. To his family, we say thank you for sharing him with the Commonwealth of Virginia. And to this House, we acknowledge the loss of a colleague, a gentleman, and a faithful public servant. Members, Barry Knight remembered what we were told on that very first day, and that this House is bigger than any one of us. And he lived his service in a way that honored that truth. May we honor his memory by doing the same. May he rest in peace, and may his life of service continue to guide us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
The delegate has the floor.
It is an honor, in fact, to follow the remarks just now about Delegate Barry Knight. And we had many a discussion about facts. And that's actually what I rose to just add to the previous conversation, a few facts about tax cuts. In 2022, 2023, 2025, the GA, the General Assembly, gave back a total of $700 to individuals, $1,400 to couples. Everyone got the same, no padding the high end. We rejected Youngkin's proposals to raise the sales tax, to cut corporate taxes, to lower the top tax bracket, giving those at the top 10 to 20 times as much as 75% of taxpayers who would get less than $50, if anything. The only thing that we agreed on was eliminating the food tax. So where are the tax cuts in the budget? The tax cuts are first and foremost at the federal level, where once again, over and over and over, the upper 1%, 2% are getting all of the tax cuts that have cut our food services, that have cut our health care. That's where those tax cuts are in the budget, as we have to make up for what has been done at the federal level. Let me just conclude by adding my voice to the conservative projections about what we are dealing with as far as the economy. Yeah, true, revenues are up, but so are all the prices that people are paying sales tax on because of tariffs. Our ports are down essentially 1% per month, as the activity of the ports as well as agriculture is being gutted by these federal policies, particularly on tariffs. But let me also close with something that I follow closely, weekly, certainly monthly, and that's what's happening in the stock market, where we're getting all kinds of capital gains. And yes, that's adding to our revenue. But again, I want to emphasize how narrow that band is. Something that came across my desk just a couple of days ago cites that the top 10 companies by capitalization represent 41% of the S&P 500. 41% in just 10 companies. Our economy is not on broad, sound footing. Our economy is based on some very narrow decisions that right now has jacked up the S&P 20%, while our incomes certainly aren't there. When I look at our revenues for the Commonwealth and what the budget has been based on, it is that conservative, broad base of our economy that we must pay attention to. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Delegate for Virginia Beach, Delegate Askew.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as we enter the final weeks of Black History Month, I rise today to ask this body and focus my remarks on whose story the Commonwealth chooses to tell. Just a few weeks ago, we heard Delegate Helmer make reference to a speech made by former Delegate Gerald Jones. In his speech, he warned this august body that some now wanted to put the symbol of pain on the cards of Virginia. He was sitting right here making the same kind of argument some of us are still making today, urging the body not to celebrate the Confederacy. That was 1999. 27 years later, we're right back at it. The conversation hasn't changed much. Before I jump in deeper, I'm going to talk a little bit about the man behind that speech. who was a mentor to me and many individuals in the legal and political profession across Hampton Roads. Honorable Judge Jones. Judge Jones was more than a legislator. He was a teacher, a guidepost, and a bridge. He came of age in Norfolk at a time when opportunity for a young black man was not given. It was fought for, and he fought his way through the rooms that were not built for him, and still found a way to open doors for himself and the rest of us. While I didn't have the pleasure of meeting the Jones family until 2017, our family connections date back to the 1970s on the campus of Hampton University. Judge Jones was one of those people who carried both grace and fire. He had words that made us stop and think, but more than that, he made us believe Virginia could be better if we just had the courage to tell the whole story. I was lucky enough to know him what feels like far too short of a time. And that is what it's really all about, Mr. Speaker. That's courage. Because session after session, we've avoided fully confronting our Confederate past. We keep calling these relics history, but history is not meant to be worshiped. It's meant to be learned from. For the third year in a row, I passed out of this House and the Senate legislation to make sure that these stories we honor reflect who we are as Virginians, not who we were. We've had conversations about markers, highways names, statues, symbols, the larger-than-life Confederate flags on both 95 and 64. And every time somebody says, well, that's just the past. But, Mr. Speaker, those so-called symbols of the past still reach into the present. They don't just sit on a pole or a pedestal. They show up at a ball field and in campuses and in interviews and at traffic stops. They don't whisper. They send a clear message about who's been in charge and who's expected to stay in their place. In Delegate Jones' speech, he spoke of his first experience with the flag as a waved at a Ku Klux Klan rally next to a burning cross. While not as harrowing, growing up in Virginia Beach in the 90s, those Confederate symbols still found a way to burn themselves into your mind. They changed how a young man saw his place in the world. I think back to playing baseball. Growing up in Virginia Beach on a mostly black team, one of our opponents was the Creed's Rebels, the name stitched across their jerseys. Confederate flags waving like choir warnings in the yards and schoolyards on our drive-in. We won that game, of course, but instead of celebrating after shaking their hands, the traditional taking a knee for a game recap or even running the polls, our coaches told us to pack up and head back to Woodstock. And even as a kid, I understood those symbols weren't just about the past. They were about who was welcome and who was still being told to wait their term and where they belong. Those moments stay with me, Mr. Speaker. You learn early on that those symbols have power. You never forget how it feels to be reminded, quietly, that some people don't think you belong. So when folks say, it's just history, I want to remind them, history doesn't live in the past. With Confederate statues still standing less than 100 feet away from this chamber. In 2026, the time for half measures is over. The time for choosing who we celebrate, who we enshrine our history is now. The time is now to finally put these relics behind us and create a new Virginia way. Tell the stories of giants in the House and Senate, like Judge Gerald Jones, like Senator Yvonne Miller, like Speaker Don Scott, like Chairman Luke Torian, and President Pro Tem Louise Lucas. Mr. Speaker, so when some of these bills come over from the Senate and to the House floor, I want you to ask yourself, what story is Virginia trying to tell? Who are we as a Commonwealth? Because the truth is, the story of Virginia isn't finished. It's being written every day, by every vote, by every one of us here. And I believe if we choose courage over comfort, it can be a story big enough for every Virginian to see themselves in. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Clerk will call the calendar.
Calendar for today for the Virginia House of Delegates this Monday, February 23rd, 2026. First category, Senate bills on third reading uncontested calendar block. The third reading uncontested Senate bill calendar block begins with Senate Bill 37, which is now before you. It seeks to amend and reenact sections of the Code of Virginia relating to sexual abuse during infancy or incapacity, accrual of cause of action. Legislative Report Committee, Courts of Justice with an amendment.
Did you hit your button? The delegate from Loudoun County. Let me be clear. I'm going to call on the committee chair unless someone else hits their button to speak. Okay? Everybody clear? All minds clear? All right. The delegate from Loudoun County, Delegate Reeser.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move the committee amendment.
Shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The committee amendment is agreed to.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill is a cognate to my HB 1020, which passed the House 98-0. It amends Virginia's child sexual assault civil statute of limitations to allow courts to consider newly discovered evidence, such as DNA confessions or corroborating witnesses. I move the bill be engrossed and passed to its, I move the adoption of the bill.
Continuing with the Senate Bill's third reading block, over on page 2, we come to Senate Bill 82, legislation amending and reenact Section Code of Virginia relating to clerk fees, secure remote access to non-confidential court records by certain attorneys. Legislation again, reporting committee, Courts of Justice.
Delegate from Norfolk, Delegate Hernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The SB 82 is a cognate to my HB 520. This bill waives OCRA fees for currently certified court-appointed counsel in the Commonwealth. This bill is an official recommendation of the Indigent Defense Commission. I move that the bill pass.
Next up in the block is Senate Bill 144, legislation to amend and reenact Section Code of Virginia relating to assault and battery, district court temporary recall judge penalty. Legislative Reporting Committee for Courts of Justice.
The delegate from Arlington, Delegate Hope.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 144 is identical to House Bill 124. It adds a judge of a general district court under a temporary recall to the definition of judge as it relates to the crime of assault and battery, which is a Class 1 misdemeanor. Pleasure of the body to pass the bill.
Senate Bill 146 is legislation to amend and reenact a different section of the Code of Virginia, this time relating to delinquent children, loss of driving privileges for alcohol, firearm, and drug offenses, truancy. Legislation, again, reporting committee for Courts of Justice.
Delegate from Loudoun County, Delegate Reeser.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this bill is the cognate to my HB 123 that passed the floor. It relates to giving judges the discretion to decide what should happen when the juvenile is found delinquent and whether to delay their driving privileges or to give them other rehabilitative services. I move that the bill be passed.
Senate Bill 203 is legislation to amend the Code of Virginia relating to teacher licensure, career and technical education, or dual enrollment. 3-year licenses established. Legislation Report Committee on Education with an amendment nature substitute.
Delegate from Roanoke, Delegate Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move the substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The committee substitute is agreed to.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now this is identical to House Bill 332, which we passed, making it easier for dual enrollment teachers. Thank you. Hope you pleasure the body to pass the bill.
Next up is Senate Bill 206, which is legislation to amend and reenact 3 sections of the Code of Virginia relating to juvenile and domestic relations district courts, petitions for relief of care and custodians. Legislation Report Committee for Courts of Justice.
The delegate from Fredericksburg, Delegate Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 206 is a cognate to my HB 73, which passed this body on February 3rd on a vote to 98-0. The bill is a recommendation from the Virginia Commission on Youth, and the goal of the bill is to keep children out of foster care whenever possible and to encourage families that are struggling with their child to cooperate with their local departments of social services to receive the needed services. I move the passage of the bill.
Senate Bill 216 is next up in the block. It is legislation to amend and reenact 2 sections of the Code of Virginia relating to guardianship, copy of appointment, termination or modification order, Department of Medical Assistance Services. Legislation Report Committee for Courts of Justice.
Delegate from Enrico, Delegate Navarre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senator Borsco's SB 216 is identical to my HB 1119 that passed our chamber 98-0 on February 10th. DMAS asked that court clerks stop sending guardianship orders to them. They no longer handle guardianship case management. I move that we pass SB 216.
Senate Bill 242 now before you seeks to amend and reenact sections of the Code of Virginia relating to the Roanoke Higher Education Authority Board of Trustees membership. Legislation Report Committee on Education.
Delegate from Roanoke, Delegate Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 242 is identical to House Bill 423, which simply amends the Roanoke Higher Education Authority Board. I hope you pleasure the body to pass the bill.
Senate Bill 316 is legislation seeks to amend and reenact section of the Code of Virginia related to notarization, filing, and recordation of certain land records, duties of notary and settlement agent, acknowledgement and satisfactory evidence of identity, requirements for commission or recommission of notary and clerk of circuit court to establish property alert electronic notification system. Quite a title. Legislation Report Committee for Courts of Justice with amendment nature substitute.
Delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Simon.
Mr. Speaker, I move the committee substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The committee substitute is agreed to.
All right, Mr. Speaker, with the substitute, this bill is now identical to my House Bill 163, which the clerk did a great job of explaining. It's all in the title. Passed the House 98-0 on February 3rd. I hope it's the pleasure of the body to pass the bill.
Next up is Senate Bill 360, legislation to amend and reenact Section Code of Virginia related to distributing nitrous oxide prohibited penalties. Legislation before committee courts of justice with amendment nature substitute.
Delegate from Richmond County, Delegate Kent.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to move the committee substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The committee substitute is agreed to.
Thank you. SB 360 is identical to my HB 648 that passed this chamber unanimously. It would prohibit the dangerous recreational misuse of nitrous oxide of certain containers and with exceptions as defined in the bill. Mr. Speaker, I move the passage of the bill.
Continuing with the block, Senate Bill 480 now before you seeks to amend and reenact Section Code of Virginia relating to collection and reporting of data related to adults charged with a criminal offense punishable by confinement in jail or a term of imprisonment. Virginia Longitudinal Data System. Legislation Report Committee for Courts of Justice with an amendment nature substitute.
Delegate from Norfolk, Delegate Hernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the committee substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The committee substitute is agreed to. The delegate from Norfolk, Delegate
Thank you,
Hernandez.
Mr. Speaker. With the substitute, this bill is identical to my HB 1084. This legislation would expressly allow the Virginia Criminal Sentencing Commission to share pretrial data collection with the Virginia Longitudinal Data System. I move that the bill pass.
Senate Bill 591 is legislation to amend and reenact Section Code of Virginia and repeal a portion of the Acts of Assembly of 2010 relating to the Department of Taxation. Free tax filing program for individuals. Legislation reported for the Committee on Finance.
Delegate from Dinwiddie, Delegate Pope Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. SB 591 is the cognate to HB 1180 that passed unanimously and requires the tax commissioner to create and offer a free electronic tax filing program directly to Virginia taxpayers. Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill pass.
And over on page 6 of the calendar, we come to the last bill in the Senate Bill's third reading uncontested calendar block. That last measure is Senate Bill 649, which seeks to amend and reenact Section Code of Virginia relating to property, real property tax, special assessment for land use, notice requirements, civil penalty. The Legislation Report Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Delegate from Rockingham, Delegate Runyon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move the House adopt the committee amendment.
Shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The committee amendment is agreed to. The Delegate from Rockingham, Delegate Runyon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 649, cognate to my House Bill 1358, which passed this body 98-0, establishes notice requirements for sale of land involved in land use programs. Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill pass.
Shall the bills pass? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 97, no 0.
Ayes 97, no 0. The bills pass.
Continuing with today's calendar, new category, Senate bills on third reading, regular calendar. Bottom of page 6, we follow on that way, 15 bills, beginning with Senate Bill 19, which is legislation to amend and reenact Section Code of Virginia relating to the Department of Education, policies relating to instructional material that contains sexually explicit content, applicability, construction. Legislation reported for the Committee on Education.
Delegate from Henrico, Delegate LaVere Bowling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. SB 19 is the Senate cognate to my HB 1499, which passed this body 62-35. The bill clarifies existing code language on parental notification when instructional materials containing sexually explicit content are assigned in public schools. I move that the bill pass.
The delegate from Campbell County, Delegate Zare.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaking to the bill.
Delegate has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, this body has shown great concern about what children consume while they're at school. Last year, we banned dyes, certain dyes. This year, we debated caffeine in breakfast. Why? Because we recognize that children don't yet have the maturity to filter everything placed before them. Adults provide guide rails. SB 19 changes the guide rails, not for what's assigned in class, but for what's made available in school libraries. By redefining instructional material narrowly to mean only teacher-assigned content, this bill removes library materials from the scope of parental notification policies unless they're specifically assigned. That's not accidental, that's the point. Parents still get notice when something's assigned, but when something is simply made available in the school environment, accessible all day during the school day, the statutory framework shifts. We can debate whether that's good policy, but let's be honest about what we're doing. We are narrowing the definition in a way that limits how parental review policies apply. Parents are paying attention. They understand the difference between assigned and available, and they care about both. If we believe parents should have meaningful involvement in what their children encounter at school, we should be cautious about redefining the terms in ways that reduce their reach. For that reason, Mr. Speaker, I respectfully urge a no vote on this bill.
Shall the bill pass? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 62, noes 34.
Ayes 62, noes 34. The bill passes.
Senate Bill 70 now before you is legislation to amend and reenact a portion of the Code of Virginia relating to delinquency petition referral to court service unit. Legislation reported Committee for Courts of Justice with an amendment in the nature of a substitute, and there are line amendments offered by Delegate LaVere Bowling to that substitute.
Delegate from Henrico, Delegate LaVere Bowling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to move adoption of the Courts of Justice substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The committee substitute is agreed to. The delegate from Henrico, Delegate LaVere Bowling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have received some technical amendments from our wonderful DLS staff and ask that we move those floor amendments.
Clerk will report the floor amendment.
Floor amendment of line 209, substitute after the word upon, insert request of.
Thank you. It seems that we were moving a little bit quickly, and as the clerk reported, we did leave a couple words out. And so, as the clerk reported, that is the floor amendment.
Shall the floor amendment be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The floor amendment is agreed to. The delegate from Henrico, Delegate LaVere Bowling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm moving too quickly, too. SB 70 is the Senate cognate to my 438, which passed this body 63 to 33, for those that need to know. This is a balanced juvenile justice reform bill that simply expands appropriate access to diversion programming by narrowing pre-petition exclusions and allowing courts upon motion of the parties to send cases back to the court service unit for diversion even after a petition has been filed. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill pass.
Shall the bill pass? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 63, noes 34.
Ayes 63, noes 34. The bill passes.
Senate Bill 77 now before you seeks to amend the Code of Virginia related to repairs or maintenance of property, entering adjoining property, petition for entry. Legislation Report Committee for Courts of Justice.
Delegate from Richmond City, Delegate Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. SB 77 is identical to my HB 803, which passed this chamber with bipartisan support. The bill allows a homeowner to petition a court for access to an adjoining property to perform necessary repairs only if reasonable requests have been denied by the adjoining property's owner. I move passage of the bill.
Shall the bill pass? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 74, noes 22.
Ayes 74, noes 22. The bill passes.
Senate Bill 117 now before you seeks to amend and reenact Section Code of Virginia relating to public school teachers, terms of employment, reemployment of teacher who has not received continuing contract status, written notice required. Legislation Report Committee on Education with an amendment in the nature of substitute. Senate Bill 117 on page 7.
Delegate from Loudoun County, Delegate Reeser.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the Education Committee's amendment. Substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The committee substitute is agreed to.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill ensures that teachers' due process rights are clearly stated and not circumvented. It does not change, however, any of the dismissal powers that school boards have. This bill is the cognate to my HB 125, which passed this House. I move the adoption of the bill.
Shall the bill pass? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 62, noes 34.
Ayes 62, noes 34. The bill passes.
Over on page 8, we come to Senate Bill 136, which seeks to amend and reenact sections of the Code of Virginia related to decreasing probation period. Legislation Report Committee for Courts of Justice with an amendment in nature of substitute.
Delegate from Patrick County, Delegate Williams.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I move the committee substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The committee substitute is agreed to.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, SB 136 is patrored by Senator Craig. It's now the same as my bill HB 149, which passed this House 87-11. This bill gives courts discretion to decrease probation after 12 months without a hearing when warranted by the defendant's good conduct on direction or petition by the Department of Corrections. I ask that we pass the bill.
Shall the bill pass? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 82, noes 15.
Ayes 82, noes 15. The bill passes.
Senate Bill 229 is legislation to amend and reenact Section Code of Virginia relating to civil actions filed on behalf of multiple persons, class actions, violation of the Virginia Consumer Protection Act, award of damages. Legislation Board Committee for Courts of Justice.
Delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Simon.
Mr. Speaker, House Bill 229 is identical to my House Bill, covered it up, House Bill 449, which passed earlier in the session. This will make Virginia leave Mississippi against the last state in the country that does not have a class action remedy at the state level. It's the pleasure of the body to pass the bill.
Shall the bill pass? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 64, noes 33.
Ayes 64, noes 33. The bill passes.
Senate Bill 301 seeks to amend and reenact sections of the Code of Virginia relating to exemptions from garnishment, minimum protected account balance, certain benefit payments, procedure for financial institutions. Legislation Report Committee for Courts of Justice.
Delegate from Norfolk, Delegate Hernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a consumer protection bill. It is the cognate to my HB 601, which passed 92-6 in the House. Does two things. First, it protects up to $1,000 in a person's bank account from garnishment. Secondly, it protects four kinds of deposits. One, unemployment insurance. Two, workers' compensation. Three, public assistance payments like TANFs and child support. I move that this bill pass.
Shall the bill pass? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 81, noes 15.
Ayes 81, noes 15. The bill passes.
Senate Bill 335 now before you seeks to amend and reenact Section Code of Virginia relating to affirmative defense or reduced penalty for mental illness, neurocognitive disorder, or intellectual or developmental disability. Legislation Report Committee for Courts of Justice.
The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 335 is cognate to my bill, House Bill 246, which passed this body 56-39. It provides for an affirmative defense by the preponderance of the evidence of any behavior that can be related to neurocognitive, mental, or intellectual disability. Please, I move passage of the bill.
Shall the bill pass? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 56, noes 39.
Ayes 56, noes 39. The bill passes.
Senate Bill 400 seeks to amend and reenact a section of the Code of Virginia relating to admissions tax in counties, retail sales and use tax dedicated to promotion of tourism. Legislation Report Committee on Finance.
Delegate from James City County, Delegate Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. SB 400 is identical to my bill HB 550, which is a permissive bill that allows James City and York counties the ability to self-govern and determine the appropriate course of action when it comes to admissions for venues within their jurisdictions. Currently, they are the only two localities in the Commonwealth that cannot make these local decisions, and we are hindering them from the ability to work for their constituents directly. This bill corrects the language of previous legislation that granted all other localities this authority and is simply ensuring fairness across the Commonwealth. With that, Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill pass.
Shall the bill pass? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 62, noes 35.
Ayes 62, noes 35. The bill passes.
Over on page 10, we come to Senate Bill 416, which seeks to amend and reenact sections of the Code of Virginia relating to deferred disposition in a criminal case, persons with autism, intellectual disabilities, or developmental disabilities, expungement. Legislation Report Committee for Courts of Justice with an amendment.
Delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the amendment.
Shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The committee amendment is agreed to. Delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 416 is the cognate to my House Bill 247, which passed this body 59 to 36, and it merely extends expungement of police and court records to the mental health deferred disposition docket, as we currently have for other specialty dockets, for example, for veterans and substance abuse. I move the passage of the bill.
Shall the bill pass? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 63, noes 34.
63, noes 34. The bill passes.
Senate Bill 431, now before you, seeks to amend and reenact two sections of the Code of Virginia relating to the Virginia Commonwealth University Health System Authority, Board of Directors, Chief Executive Officer, Legislative Report Committee on Education.
Delegate from Richmond, Delegate Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill South SB 431 is identical to my HB 1040, which passed this chamber with 91 votes in support. The bill implements several JLARC recommendations to improve the VCU Health Authority's governance structure. I move the bill's passage.
Shall the bill pass? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 89, noes 6, abstentions 2.
Ayes 89, noes 6, abstentions 2. The bill passes.
Top of page 11, Senate Bill's third reading regular. We come to Senate Bill 495, which seeks to amend and reenact multiple sections of the Code of Virginia relating to substantial risk orders, eligible petitioners, substantial risk factors and considerations, court jurisdiction, constructive possession of firearms, penalty. Legislative Report Committee for Courts of Justice with amendments.
The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the committee amendment.
Shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The committee amendment is agreed to. The delegate from Fairfax.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. SB 495 is now identical to my HB 901. This bill expands the list of people eligible to file a petition for a risk order and provides various factors that a judge or magistrate shall consider prior to issuing such an order. It expands the court jurisdiction over orders from circuit courts to juvenile and domestic relations district courts and general district courts, and requires petitions against minors to be filed in J&DR court. It provides the process for which firearms not owned by the subject of a petition are returned to the lawful owner of the firearm. And finally, it provides that any person that makes a materially false statement or misrepresentation to a court during the process is guilty of a Class 1 misdemeanor. I move passage of the bill.
Shall the bill pass? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 63, noes 34.
Ayes 63, noes 34. The bill passes.
Senate Bill 597, now before you, seeks to amend and reenact multiple sections of the Code of Virginia, all relating to wage garnishments, treasurer's liens for unpaid taxes and charges. Legislation Report Committee for Courts of Justice.
Delegate from Norfolk, Delegate Hernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill is the cognate to my HB 1100. It's a consumer protection bill. It would create a cap on the amount of someone's paycheck that can be subjected to a treasurer's lien. Right now, they can take 100% of your paycheck. This bill creates a general rule where it's capped at 25%. I move that we pass the bill.
Shall the bill pass? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 83, noes 14.
Ayes 83, noes 14. The bill passes.
Over on page 12, we come to Senate Bill 612, which is legislation to amend and reenact Section of the Code of Virginia relating to motion picture production income tax credit, sunset extended. Legislation Report Committee on Finance.
The delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 612 is cognate to my House Bill 400, which passed this chamber on a vote of 74 to 23. It simply extends the sunset for the motion picture tax credit from 2027 to 2031. I move that the bill pass.
Somebody has to explain that tradition, but shall the bill pass? But if you know, you know. Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 74, noes 23.
Ayes 74, noes 23. The bill passes.
And last bill in this category, is Senate Bill 785, which seeks to amend and reenact Section Code of Virginia relating to teacher, other instructional personnel, and support staff position exits, data collection, disaggregation by race. Legislation Report Committee on Education.
Delegate from Chesterfield, Delegate Doherty.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Wrapping up this section of the calendar, Senate Bill 785 is a cognate to my House Bill 1437 and requires that each school board report to the Department of Education annually the number and type of teacher, other instructional personnel, and support staff position exits in the school division. Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill pass.
Shall the bill pass? Clerk will close the roll.
Excuse me. Ayes 63, noes 34.
Ayes 63, noes 34. The bill passes.
Mr. Speaker, continuing with today's calendar, we come to memorial resolutions laid on the Speaker's table. The memorial resolutions to be adopted en bloc are spread across pages 12 through 15, the calendar block, except for House Joint Resolution 124, 129, House Joint Resolution 124, House Resolutions 129 and 130, which those three are out of the block. The rest of them are all in the block.
All those in favor of adopting the memorial resolutions laid on Speaker's table as listed on pages 12 through 15, with the exception of those announced by the clerk, shall please rise. Resolutions are agreed to.
Continuing, last category today, commending resolutions laid on the Speaker's table. The commending resolutions laid on the Speaker's table are spread across pages 15 through 20 of the calendar. Removed from the block are House Resolution 74, HJR 122, 123, 135, as well as House Joint Resolutions 151, 156, 157, and 158. And then lastly, out of the block as well are House Joint Resolutions 159 and House Resolution 134. The remainder of the bills on pages 15 through 20 are in the block.
All those in favor of adopting the commending resolutions laid on the Speaker's table found on pages 15 through 20, with the exception of those listed by the clerk, will say aye. All those opposed, no. The resolutions are agreed to.
Mr. Speaker, that completes today's calendar.
Per House Rule 51, the House has returned to the morning hour. Clerk, have any announcements or communications?
No communications. Announcements, simply the meeting schedule for this afternoon. Just a couple of meetings. Committee on Finances, Subcommittee Number 1. They will be meeting 15 minutes upon adjournment of the House, approximately 1:30-ish or soon thereafter. They will be on the House Committee Room B. So that is Finance Subcommittee Number 1, which will work its docket on the second floor in House Committee Room B. The Courts of Justice Civil Subcommittee will be meeting a half hour after adjournment, and they will be in the House North Subcommittee Room on the second floor. All of the other committees are canceled, subcommittees, anything. Then the only other thing, legislative business coming before you this afternoon is the Northern Virginia Delegation Caucus is meeting today at 5 o'clock in House Subcommittee Room 10 on the 10th floor. So that is that. Looking ahead to tomorrow, Tuesday, February 24th. First meeting, Education Committee's K-12 Subcommittee. They'll be meeting at 7:30 in House Committee Room A in the lower level. At 7:30 as well, the Conservative Caucus will be meeting, but they'll be upstairs in the GAB House Subcommittee Room 8 on the 8th floor, excuse me. At 8 o'clock tomorrow, the Transportation Department of Motor Vehicles Subcommittee, they'll be meeting in House Committee Room B on the second floor. Once the subcommittee is finished at 9 o'clock, then the full committee will meet in the same room. And then once the full committee's worked its docket, Transportation Infrastructure and Funding Subcommittee will meet. All those are in House Committee Room B. At 8:30 tomorrow, Committee on Health and Human Services will be meeting next door in House Committee Room C. Then once the full committee's finished, the Health Subcommittee will be meeting immediately after the full committee. And then finally, tomorrow, the two caucuses will meet as usual. Republican caucus is meeting at 11:30 in House Room 2, and the Democratic caucus is meeting 11:15, 11:30. Both caucuses will be at 11:30. Democrats in House Room 1, Republicans in House Room 2. That's all the announcements I have at this time, sir.
Delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring.
Mr. Speaker, I move that when the House adjourned today, it adjourn to reconvene tomorrow at 12 noon.
Delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring moves that when the House adjourns today, it adjourn to reconvene tomorrow at 12 noon. As many in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The motion is agreed to. The delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
Delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring moves that the House do now adjourn. As many in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The motion is agreed to. The House stands adjourned until tomorrow at 12 noon.